When someone you love dies, people tell you to let go. They never tell you what to do when the house won't let go of you. 3 months after Clara's funeral, Ethan Carter was a man hollowed out of purpose. He kept her studio untouched, canvases stacked, brushes still wet, the smell of turpentine hanging in the air like memory itself. Every night he'd pour a drink, sit in the dark, and whisper her name as if she might answer. And one night, she did. Ethan. Soft, almost like a breath behind him. He turned. Nothing. Just the window swaying open from the wind. He told himself he imagined it, until the next morning he found one of Clara's paintings lying on the easel. He didn't remember putting it there. It was of the cabin again. But this time, the fire was gone. The door was open, and 2 shadows stood by the lake. The whispers grew worse with each passing night. Sometimes he heard her voice calling from upstairs. Sometimes, music played from the old record player she used to love, even though it hadn't worked in years. One night the record spun on its own. No sound, just the needle scratching. And then, faintly, her voice again, "You can't hide forever." Ethan smashed the record player. But when he looked down, there was paint on his hands, the same blue Clara used to paint the sky. He hadn't touched a brush since her death, yet that night, while he slept, he dreamed of painting. The cabin, again and again, the same scene, but every time, Daniel's shadow came closer to the door. Days blurred into nights. Ethan began hearing footsteps in the hall. Slow, soft, deliberate. The scent of Clara's perfume lingered, and sometimes he saw her reflection in mirrors, looking right at him even when he wasn't there. Then came the letter. It arrived with no return address. The handwriting was shaky, familiar, old-fashioned. Inside, one line. "You never told the police what you did." There was no signature, but the paper smelled faintly of paint thinner. Clara's scent. Ethan's sanity began to unravel. He started talking to her, out loud, as if she were still sitting across from him. Sometimes he'd swear she answered. He'd wake up to the sound of brush strokes and find new paintings drying by the window, scenes he'd never seen before. One of them showed him, standing in the woods, holding something heavy. Something that looked like a shovel. He followed the image. The next morning, he drove to the edge of the forest, to where Daniel's cabin once stood. But when he arrived, he froze. The ashes were gone. The foundation had been rebuilt. A new cabin, clean and empty. On the porch, hanging from the railing, was Clara's scarf. He ran inside. The air was still untouched, except for a single painting on the wall. Clara's brushwork. It showed a man kneeling by a grave, the name carved into the stone, Ethan Carter. He stumbled backward, heart pounding. He tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. His reflection in the window began to flicker. It wasn't his face anymore. It was Daniel's. And Daniel smiled. "You locked me in once, Ethan," the reflection whispered. "Now it's your turn." The cabin went dark. The smell of smoke filled the air. Flames licked the corners of the walls. Ethan screamed, pounding the door, but his voice made no sound. He turned and saw Clara standing by the fire, her eyes filled with sorrow. "You could have told me the truth," she said softly. "We could have faced it together." She reached out her hand. "But now, we'll forget together." Ethan reached for her, and the flames swallowed them both. The next morning, police found the cabin untouched. No fire, no damage. But Ethan's truck was parked outside. Inside the cabin, they found one new painting on the easel, still wet. It showed a man and a woman by the lake, walking hand in hand into the sunrise. No one could explain how it got there, or why. At the bottom corner, Clara's signature had been freshly written, next to a second name, Ethan Carter. They say time heals everything. But some memories don't fade. They just wait for us to remember.